Hello everybody and welcome back to Esports Talk. My name is Caleb and today we are once again talking about Warzone, but the question is which Warzone? Because as the recent revelations have revealed, you may not be playing the same version of Warzone depending on what lobby you're playing in. As reported by TrueGameData on Twitter, private and public matches run different builds of the game and can and do have very different stats for just about everything: gun damage, gun range, headshot multipliers. Massive amounts of data is being pulled from the game and analyzed, but the implications from just what you can see on screen now, courtesy of JGod also on Twitter, are more than enough to get the point across. So what does this mean? Well, some of the conclusions are going to be fairly obvious, but let's take a stroll down the list anyway. First of all, it means you can have a drastically different player experience with the game depending on the lobby you're playing in. This means you can have a great run with a particular build in a private match with some of your friends, or you could be testing it out just to see how it functions, actually taking in some online play in a public match, and all of a sudden it's just not working out the way you want it to. The feel, the actual results can be drastically different, and that's if it's drastic. If the results are relatively minor, if the numbers are just slightly off, the range is just slightly shorter, you might be experiencing issues, you might be suffering from a loss of performance that you can't really tell is a result of the build being different. And as a result, you're most likely going to blame yourself. You're going to think, I missed that shot, I whiffed that hit, I must not have connected as much as I thought, all the while the actual hard numbers behind what you're doing are what's really holding you back. Not to mention any sources you can look up, the same sources for info that should be trusted and reliable, because there are competitors pulling hard numbers from the game itself, testing things themselves, putting together comprehensive and well done lists of how effective certain tools are, and all the while they're not getting the correct information because they're pulling from, again, a different build of the game. And that's frustrating enough for even casual players. Imagine how bad this is for the pros. Think back to how many Warzone tournaments could possibly be called into question as a result of this revelation. How many pros' bad days could be justified as not them having an actual bad day, not them actually suffering from poor performance, but the result of the fact that they have been putting in their thousands of hours of practice, all that work, all the blood, sweat, and tears to get to the point necessary to compete at a high level, but they were doing that practice in a version of the game that was fundamentally different. It seems unfair to those people that are putting in all this effort to try and get good, and they're dealing with a whole new set of tools by the time they step into the arena, because again, a lot of these Warzone tournaments are played in private lobbies. And it's one thing to say, well, they'll have to practice in private lobbies to play in private lobbies, but how many of them weren't aware of that fact? The lack of transparency is also one of the big issues here. If pro players knew they needed to be playing in private lobbies to get private lobby numbers, they could have done that. But then that loops us right back around to the question, the pivotal question at the center of all this: why are there two builds of the game in the first place? So of course Warzone fans are not happy, but that's really not new. In recent times, there have been plenty of cries for changes and patches to the various issues and bugs in the game for a number of reasons. Everything from console players still requesting an FOV slider that PC players already have, updates and changes to the way that the map works, field upgrades needing to be buffed or nerfed, and patches for the various glitches that continue to plague the game, things like the return of the demon gun glitch, the inescapable Gulag, and the recent addition of a randomized chance for you to become a prop hunt character.
Look at this. Like this! Look at me! I can play!
I'm watching you, Dexter, and it's fine.
You can play! My whole screen, like...
Loop.
I'm watching.
Yep, back right.
Mid, standing still, not moving. Push, not moving. Push, not moving. Timmy, not moving.
Let's go!
That's the host. All right, here we go. I got you. Ready?
Wait, did you die?
Oh.
Mid. Wait, you kill Z?
We're dead. We're getting the glitch that people wanted to restart for. I hate this game.
I think TrueGameData puts it best on Twitter when he says that Warzone is a game that we all on a certain level want to love, but there are so many questionable decisions and game-breaking issues holding it back that it's really difficult to do so. There's a lot of reasons to be critical of the game, but to be fair, there's also a lot of reasons to be understanding when it comes to the dev team behind it. After all this, it's really hard to say exactly what is going into these decision-making processes. Who knows what problem making two separate builds of the game was meant to fix at some point? And of course, there's also the conditions they're currently working under to keep it in mind. If you've been following the news, or if you've been following this channel in particular, you know that there are a ton of allegations that do not paint a very good light about the environment that this game is being made in. So it's very hard to tell exactly how much criticism is justified, but at the same time, the game is the game, and the difficulties we're facing are reasonable reasons to be upset. One can only hope that moving forward there will be a little bit more transparency about what exactly we are dealing with when it comes to this game, what exactly we can look forwards to in terms of what patches, what fixes can be implemented, what they're planning on implementing, and what's difficult and why. I'm sure a lot of people would be more understanding if they could simply be told why there are 2 builds of the game, the fact that there are 2 builds of the game in the first place, and what the things holding them back from certain changes being made are. But one way or another, there's a lot to keep in mind here, and certainly a lot more to talk about. If you have any other glitches you've noticed, any other things you feel like are prominent issues that need to be fixed, or any questions that are plaguing your mind, please let us know in the comment section down below. We're going to be keeping an eye on this situation, letting you know about any new news that pops up, and of course, trying to answer all those burning questions. But for right now, my name is Caleb. That's all we have for today. We'll talk to you next time.